Now another piece of the puzzle we need to install is an emulator. Since we're going to be creating our programs in VS Code editor, we want some convenient way to actually test out our programs and see them running in real time. So we're going to install the CSpect Emulator, which emulates the ZX Spectrum Next personal computer. And to do that, we're going to go to a website here, which is daily.blogspot.com, and there's two L's in daily. And here is where we can find a link to download this CSpect emulator. And so if we go down here to the bottom, we simply click on this link here beside download CSpect v2.14.03 emulator. So we'll click on that to download our emulator, and we're going to save it into the folder that we made for this already. So we'll go to the ZX Game Dev folder, and under there we have a CSpect folder. So we'll double click on that and then click Save. Now if we click down here on this zip file, then if we go down here to cspect.exe and double click on that, we can select Extract All, and we'll extract it to the default folder, which is our ZX Game Dev CSpect, and then another CSpect folder there. So we'll click Extract. There, so the files are all extracted now, but there are a few more files that we need to download. So let's go back here to our browser and open another window, and here we'll go to ZX Spectrum Next.online. And here on this site, this is where we can download some more files that we need. And if we go down to the bottom here where it lists current distro images, and distro is short for distribution, so these are the image files that the ZX Spectrum Next computer actually uses to operate. So in order for the CSpect emulator to know how to emulate a ZX Spectrum Next computer, it needs one of these image files. And so let's just pick one of these. Let's say this 4 GB one. You can see they're all the same image except they're separated into different sizes. So let's just pick this 4 GB SD card image here and click on it. And we're going to save that into the CSpect folder as well. So you can see here the ZX Game Dev CSpect folder is already selected, and so we're going to click Save. And now if we click on this file to find it here in the folder, we see this contains 3 separate files. One is the actual image here, as well as these 2 additional files which are important, and we need those as well. So luckily it brings those along for the ride and installs them automatically for us as well. This ennextzx.rom file and ennxtmmc.rom file. So let's go back here now to our CSpect folder and find our zipped file that we just downloaded, which contains our ZX Spectrum Next image. And here I'm going to just select it, and then I'll select Extract All. It's going to extract it automatically to the CSpect folder, which is where I want it, so I'll click Extract. And we'll just wait for this to finish extracting now. And there, now it's finished extracting the files into the folder. And one more thing we need to do is go back here to our browser, and back on this ZX Spectrum Next online website, up here we see there's one more file we need, which is this openal32.dll file. And this is some sort of sound file that allows the emulator to actually play sounds. So we're going to click on this installer link over here for Windows machines, which is, since I'm installing it on a Windows computer, this should work for me. So I'll go ahead and click on this installer link, and I'll go ahead and download this to the CSpect folder as well. And I'll click on it, and I'll click Extract All to extract the file, and then Extract. And now the file is extracted. And now I'll go ahead and double click on this file that's called oalinst.exe, and I'll click OK. Installation complete. Great. Okay, so finally I think it's time for us to try out our development environment and see if we're ready to go here. What we need to do is File, selection here, and select Open Folder, and make sure that we're still pointing to that Sources folder under the next build folder. And then here's the sources folder right here. So I'm just going to single click on that to highlight it and click select folder down here. And now we can see that we're pointed at the sources folder here. We have that folder open over on the left side here. Now these are all the files that are included under this sources folder. So now if we pick one of them, let's say Holy Moly, that's a game, so we can open that folder and look for a .bas file, which is basic, and here it is right here, holymoly.bas. So I'm just going to double click on that. Actually, I'm not going to double click on it. I'm going to single click on it to bring up the code over in this window here. And then what I'm going to do is go up here to Terminal and click Run Build Task and click on that. And now what it's doing is it's compiling this basic program, or Boriel BASIC program, and you can see down here in the lower window that it's compiling it for us, and it's going to, hopefully, if all has gone well and everything works properly, it should automatically open this program or this game in the CSpect emulator for us. And you can see that our development environment appears to be working. So I know that took a while and there were quite a few pieces we needed to install, and hopefully you were able to get the environment set up successfully on your machine as well. And we took a look at that one sample program, that Holy Moly game, which seemed to work okay on my system after using the installation instructions that we just outlined in this episode. And now let's just go down and take a look at another sample. For example, if we go down here to this sprites 2 folder and we open it up and we look for a basic file here, there's one called 4-bit sprite.bas, so I'll just click on that. And if I go up here to Terminal, Run Build Task, and we can see if this is going to compile and run in our emulator as well. And it looks like it seems to be working. Yep, there it is. So it's running in our emulator. So it looks like the sample programs that come included with this next build environment seem to work fine. So I'm just going to close this window now, and I'm going to close this program window as well. So now why don't we try creating our own program in Boriel BASIC to see if we can get our own programs running. And I'm certainly not an expert with this program. I'm not really that familiar with all the different configuration settings that we need to do to make this program work exactly the way we want it to work. But let's just try to enter our own program and see what happens. So if I go up here to File and I select New File, let's just start entering a basic program. So I'm going to enter a for next loop to change the border color and to make a beeping sound from the beeper. So I'll type for a equals 1 to 50. And then another great thing about this Boriel BASIC programming language is that we don't need to enter line numbers as we normally would when we're entering a basic program. So that's fantastic. So here you can see I've entered my first line in our Boriel BASIC program without a line number. Now I'll enter my second line, which is border random, or RND for short, times 7. So that will give us a random border color. And then my next line, I'll type beep 0.2, comma, random, or RND, times 30. And that will give us a random beep frequency. And then finally, I'll end off the program by typing next A. There, so our basic program has been entered, but you can see here that the text is all the same color. It's all white. So there's no syntax highlighting, which means the editor doesn't know what type of program it is we're actually trying to enter. So let's go ahead and save this program by selecting File, Save As. So if I start here on my desktop ZX Game Dev folder and go down to Projects, and remember we created a folder called My First Game, so I'm going to double click on that to open it, and then we created a Sources folder for the source files or the programs for our games, so I'll double click on that to open it as well. And there are some extra files in here that have been generated automatically from me just playing around with this environment, but just ignore those for now. And I'm going to save this basic program in this sources folder, and I'm going to call it test program, T-E-S-T program. And I'm going to give it a basic extension, so .bas, and I'll click save here. And now you can see, since we've given it a .bas extension when we saved the file, this VS Code editor now knows that we're trying to type in a basic program, and it gives us syntax highlighting, so our text colors are different depending on what type of command or program element we're actually typing into our program. So the syntax highlighting is very useful, and it looks pretty cool, and it also gives us an indication that the editor knows what type of program we're trying to create. In this case, a Boriel BASIC program. So now that we've saved this program, let's try to execute it by clicking on Terminal, Run Build Task, or we could also press Ctrl-Shift-B to accomplish the same thing. And I'll go ahead and click that now, and we'll see if it's able to actually compile and then run in the CSpect emulator. So it's trying to compile. If we look down in the window at the bottom here, and we can see, oh, there's a message here, terminated with exit code 1. So it didn't like something about the way we saved our program, it looks like, because here it says no such file or directory. So I'm not really familiar enough with how to configure this program, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is kind of take a shortcut. I'm just going to try saving this program in a location where it should be able to work. So it doesn't like being saved in the folder that we created underneath our projects folder. So let's try saving it somewhere else. Let's go File, Save As, and since we know that the sample programs that came with the next build environment seem to work, and they are saved under the sources folder within the next build folder, let's try and save our program there as well. So I'm just going to navigate to ZX Game Dev folder, and then here I have a next build master, which is where the next build files were saved. So I'm going to open that folder by double clicking on it, and then I have another next build master folder underneath that, which was created automatically when we installed the next build tools. So I'll open that. And here you can see the sources folder where those sample programs that we know work are saved. So I'm going to double click on that sources folder. And now within this folder, I'm going to create my own folder by clicking New Folder here. And I'm going to call this folder My Projects. So now if I double click on this My Projects folder and open it up, I'll try saving my program here now. And again, it's called testprogram.bas. So I'll save it again here. And now if we look here, we can see we're in the sources folder, and we're down here in the My Projects folder within the sources folder. And you can see that here as well, My Projects. And then the name of our program is right here, testprogram.bas. And we have our syntax highlighting, which indicates the editor knows what type of program we're entering. And let's try and run this program now. So we'll click Terminal, Run Build Task, and it's trying to compile it again, as we can see in this lower window down here. And we'll just see if it succeeds this time. Oh, so it says created OK. That's a good sign. So it looks like it was able to compile it. Oh, and there we go, it's running it. Oh, that's cool. So it actually executed our program in the CSpect emulator, which is fantastic. So all we had to do was save it somewhere that the development environment actually liked. So I suspect we could actually get this working if we knew how to configure it properly, but I'm not sure how to do that. So for now, I'm just going to save my files in a place where the program is actually able to compile and run them.